Up and Away by Jessi. Fade in. Exterior, Red River, USA. Morning. A busy street cuts through a small rural town. Jonathan Kent, early 40s, in casual attire, approaches a police officer leaning against his cruiser. Red River Police Officer 1 sips a cup of coffee and straightens up as Jonathan approaches.
How can I help you?
I was wondering if I could ask you a few questions about last week's car accident.
Well, you need to be more specific.
A little girl was trapped and...
A kid, not older than 11, saved her. Yeah, I remember. Never seen anything like it in my life. All I could do was watch.
Red River Police Officer number 1 hesitates, then his imagination recreates the scene. Begin recreation. Jonathan stands objectively like a Greek god in the middle of traffic. No one can see them. Jonathan watches the scene unfold as the Red River Police Officer 1 recounts the story. Suddenly, a speeding red car veers to avoid colliding with a pedestrian. The car spins out of control, tumbles, crushes its roof, making escape impossible for a 6-year-old girl trapped in the back seat. With impossible strength, the mother, late 30s, busted and bruised, pulls herself out of the car wreck.
The mother was busted up bad. But somehow she rose up on a broken leg and did all she could to save her little girl.
Red River Police Officer 1 and Red River Police Officer 2, female, late 20s, rush toward the mother. The mother screams and shrieks, trying to lift up the car to free her daughter. Her broken leg gives way. She tries again. Jonathan observes Red River Police Officer 1 and his partner. Red River Police Officer 2 tries to pull the mother away, but the mother makes another attempt to lift the car. Red River Police Officer 1 tries to lift the car with her.
I tried to lift, but it wouldn't budge, and a fire had begun in the engine.
Red River Police Officer 2 tries to pull the mother away. Red River Police Officer 1 turns to a crowd gathering around the scene of the accident.
I asked for help from anyone nearby, and several people came to my assistance.
A group of men and women try to lift the car, and some try to pull the mother away.
A group couldn't pull her away, despite the danger.
Jonathan stares at the scene when suddenly Clark Kent, 11 years old, in blue jeans and a white t-shirt and sunglasses, stands beside the police officers, startling them.
Then out of nowhere, this kid comes. He kneels. He lifts the car like it's nothing.
Young Clark Kent lifts the car over his head with his 2 arms extended much like the cover of the first Superman comic. Red River Police Officer 1 stares at the scene in disbelief, while Red River Police Officer 2 yells for him to snap out of it. Help her!
I'm kind of in shock. The kid must have been pumping with adrenaline or something, only he didn't look it. My partner yells at me to snap out of it.
Pull her out! Red River Police Officer 1 snaps out of it and manages to grab the girl's arm. Red River Police Officer 2 cuts through her seatbelt. They pull her out of the bullet-burning wreckage.
And we pull the girl out and run from the car, and just in time, too.
The car explodes as the officers rush away with the coughing young girl. A sudden blur as Clark Kent catches and places shrapnel on the ground so that everyone is safe. Red River Police Officer 1 and Red River Police Officer 2 tumble across the road with the girl.
I didn't really understand what happened, but when I rose...
Shrapnel placed in a neat pile.
There was a pile of car parts neatly placed by the sidewalk, and the fire had been extinguished. Amazing, no one was hurt. Don't ask me to explain it, because I can't.
Clark Kent walks away. End of recreation.
Kid just took off before anyone could thank him.
Jonathan hands Red River Police Officer 1 a piece of paper. Red River Police Officer 1 unfolds the piece of paper and stares at a missing persons poster that reads, Clark Kent, 11 years old, Smallville, Kansas.
That's him. Who is he?
My son.
Interior Cafe, Philadelphia, kitchen, day. Clark Kent washes dishes in a greasy kitchen sink, stacks of dirty dishes beside him. A cook in his early 50s flips burgers.
How come you ain't school, kid?
Why do I need school?
You don't. Especially if you want to wash dishes for the rest of your life.
Not sure I know what I want to do for the rest of my life.
No rush, kid. Look at me. I'm 50. I still don't know what I want to do with my life, and I ain't doing so bad.
Exterior cafe, alley, later. Clark exits from the cafe into the alley. He looks through the entrance of the alley at the busy main road. He sees a homeless man sleeping or lying unconscious on the sidewalk. Pedestrians walk around him and continue on with their day. Clark approaches the homeless man, wakes him up.
Sir, you okay?
Douglas, early 30s, a black man in a suit, shakes his head, confused.
I don't know how I got here. I think I had an interview for work.
Let's get you some help.
Clark takes an empty bottle of pills from the man's hands and reads, Millennium Goodwill Center for Veterans. Clark takes Douglas's hand, helps him up with ease. Exterior Millennium Goodwill Center later. A small industrial building turned into a veteran clinic. Clark and Douglas approach the entrance. Interior Millennium Goodwill Center moments later. Clark approaches a secretary sitting behind a desk. The secretary addresses Clark.
He a vet?
Yes, he is.
Card, please.
Douglas hands over his vet card. She scans it and gets him to sign a form.
Go to room 111 for a general examination.
Clark and Douglas approach. Interior Millennium Goodwill Center, room 111, moments later. Clark and Douglas enter to find a nurse at the desk.
Card.
Douglas hands her his vet card. The nurse passes the card again for his general examination. Exterior Red River Youth Hostel, afternoon. Jonathan approaches a small youth hostel. Interior Red River Youth Hostel, moments later. Jonathan approaches a clerk, early 20s, female.
Sorry, we're all booked out.
Jonathan scans the youth hostel. Young backpackers, runaways, kids. He places a picture of Clark on the counter.
I'm not here for a room. I was wondering if maybe you've seen him around.
Sure, funny kid.
He's still here?
Nah, he left a week ago.
Did he say where he was going?
Is he in some sort of trouble?
No. Just looking for my son.
You might want to try Sam's place. They hire kids under the table.
Jonathan scribbles the information down in a notebook.
Not that it's any of my business. What made him leave? You tell him he was adopted or something?
It's a little more complicated.
It always is. I hope you find him. The kid needs his parents.
Jonathan exits. Interior Millennium Goodwill Center, waiting room, afternoon. Clark sits with a crowd of veterans. He eavesdrops on patients with his super hearing. He's able to focus on specific conversations at will.
I have no idea what the pills do, but they're supposed to help.
They make me sick. I don't know why we're all getting the same medication. We aren't the same kind of sick. Or maybe we are.
Suddenly, Clark hears a female voice. A young woman emerges from the corridor being escorted by 2 security guards. Linda Olson, early 20s, in jeans and a t-shirt.
I wasn't snooping. I'm just looking for my uncle, I swear.
Linda approaches Clark. She indicates him with her chin.
There, that's my brother.
Clark's eyes widen.
We're here with our...
Uncle.
Stay in the waiting room or we'll call the police.
Linda sighs. Security guard 1 leaves. Linda sits beside Clark.
Thanks for the save, kid.
What exactly did I save you from, miss?
Miss? Linda.
Clark.
Clarky. I don't think you'd understand.
Clark.
What are you doing here?
Helping a friend.
Family friend?
Just someone who needs help.
That's very cool of you.
He would have done the same for me.
Linda laughs.
That's special. You're not from the city, are you?
No, miss. I'm from...
No. Don't call me that. Let me guess. Kansas?
Well, that's really good for a first guess.
Where about?
Smallville.
Well, you ain't in Smallville no more, Clarky.
That's clever. But, maybe you could call me Clark instead of Clarky. Sounds better to my ears, anyway.
Sure thing, Smallville. You remind me of my little brother.
You never did answer my question.
What question was that?
What did I save you from?
I'm not sure. I've been following up on a story and I got a tip that they were creating false claims or something like that.
Linda considers.
A source told me that places like these create fake vets to drain the federal grants. So I broke into their offices and so far I ain't found anything. All IDs are legit.
I probably don't want to know.
I don't think I'm gonna find anything.
It's taking long.
Let's go check.
Clark and Linda approach the secretary behind the desk.
Do you know when Douglas Hyde will be released?
Not today. We need to keep him under observation.
Really? Didn't seem so bad.
It happens. Come on, Smallville. I'll treat you to ice cream.
I ain't a kid.
Sure you ain't.
Exterior Red River, Sam's Place, afternoon. Jonathan approaches a fast food restaurant. Interior Red River, Sam's Place, moments later. Manager, late 40s, Caucasian, stares at a picture of Clark and shakes his head.
Never worked here.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't hire kids. Not my style.
Please. I'm the boy's father. I just want to know where he is and if he's okay.
A waitress, early 20s, stands behind the counter, staring at the picture and Jonathan.
Told you. Never seen this kid before.
Jonathan sighs, exits. Exterior Red River, Sam's Place, moments later. Jonathan walks by an alley and the waitress calls out to him.
He worked here. Your kid?
Jonathan turns to face the waitress. He approaches her.
But he went up against the manager.
Begin recreation. Sam's place. Jonathan and the waitress are in Sam's place. They watch the scene like Greek gods. A Sikh man with a turban enters, approaches the counter, goes to order.
We only serve Americans. You want to be served here? Take that towel off your head.
The Sikh ignores him.
Hamburger. Onion rings.
Good thing. That thing is a damn insult to good, real Americans.
Good, real Americans. I've got my citizenship.
Now, I don't give a damn. In this place, you can't wear that. It's my policy.
He quickly draws a picture on a piece of paper of a turban, draws a circle around it, crosses it out, and pins it up. A few patrons clap. Others feel repulsed. A soldier in casual attire approaches the manager and the Sikh. He addresses the manager.
I'm a soldier, and you are a disgrace to who we are and what we stand for.
Still my place.
The soldier turns to the Sikh.
What do you want?
Sir, you can't order that for him. I won't allow.
Americans surround the soldier and the Sikh.
Stand down.
We are your men. Now, the way we see it, he can serve whoever he wants without you meddling with his affairs, soldier boy.
I'm going to the police.
Good. Now get.
Suddenly, Clark brings the Sikh a burger and onion rings in a brown paper bag.
On the house, sir. Apologies for the ignorance.
You dumb little shit.
The thug goes to slap the burger out of Clark's hands. Clark evades with ease. The thug grabs his shoulder. Clark pushes him lightly, and the thug flies back against the wall and slumps down unconscious. Everyone stares in disbelief. The Sikh takes the bag. Other thugs rush out, scared. Clark turns to the soldier.
He must have tripped on something.
The soldier and the Sikh stare at Clark in utter disbelief.
Get out! Get out!
End of recreation. Jonathan stares at the waitress.
Since then, a lot of people have been boycotting the place on account of the whole turban thing.
Good. Do you know where he went?
I think that Sikh man got him some work.
You know his name?
Nah. But there's only one Sikh church or whatever they call it in town.
I'll ask around.
What's happening to our country?
I don't know, but I don't like it.
Jonathan begins to walk away.
I'm glad your boy did what he did.
Jonathan stops, turns to face her.
You raised him good.
We raised him good, his mother and I. And he's still got a bit to learn.
I hope you find him.
Jonathan nods, turns, leaves. Exterior restaurant evening. Clark and Linda eat fries and burgers.
Thanks. This is great.
Least I could do. Are you a little young to be on your own?
I have things to work out.
What kind of things?
Clark stares at her but doesn't answer.
Things.
I left home too, but with my parents' blessing. I'm guessing by your age, your parents don't know where you are.
Clark doesn't answer.
Must be worried sick.
They'll know I'll be fine.
So sure?
I'm pretty sure.
My parents were disappointed, but they understood.
Understood what?
Most graduates take a summer to travel around Europe. Not me. I bought a used Winnebago to travel around my country. Feel like I had this idea of America in my head, made by big media. But somehow I figured I gotta go see what's going on myself.
I don't follow.
Something's happening. We ain't who we used to be, and I want to know what's going on. I want to hear real stories, see how real Americans are living. Really living, see for myself.
Just like that?
Not just like that. I got into Metropolis State's journalism program.
Linda scoffs.
Did one semester and realized they weren't training writers. They were training business lackeys.
Linda sighs.
Took me 2 months to realize that news run like a business was just business. And going after entertainment or the bottom line ain't the same as going after the truth. Writers should be going after the truth, not the bottom line. I ain't going into journalism for business. Easier ways to make money than writing. I figured I'd just take a trip in search of the truth, justice, and what everyone calls the American way.
Clark makes a skeptical face.
The American way?
Yeah, I just don't know what that is anymore. I think there was a time I knew, we knew, but now it's a little bit lost. Don't you think?
Clark nods.
How do you pay for all of it?
My audience. They send me donations for my work on my blog. I've been exposing bullshit for a long time now, Clarky. It's actually starting to pay.
Pretty powerful pen.
Ain't the pen, Smallville. It's the person wielding it. You know anything about cars?
Sure. My dad showed me a few things. I built an engine from scratch for them once.
You mind taking a look at my ride?
Exterior Winnebago later. Clark watches Linda start the Winnebago. It starts with difficulty. He takes a look under the hood.
It's a pretty old battery. First thing I would do is change it.
Could you do that?
Got a pen and paper?
Linda hands him a pen and paper. Clark examines the battery. He jots down a few specs. Exterior Red River Park evening. Jonathan Kent passes a park bench. He sees a father and son playing. He remembers. Exterior Kent Farm flashback. Jonathan pours gas into the tank of a tractor. 4-year-old Clark walks up to him and smiles. Jonathan turns to his son.
Hey, bud, what's going on?
Mom said I could have a day off.
Well, is that right? No singing, no ABCs.
And no coloring between the lines.
Lucky man.
You too. You can take a day off, please.
I wish, but Dad's got to finish his work. It's called being responsible.
Please? You can swim in the lake.
Jonathan smiles.
I can't, bud.
You need a vacation.
Jonathan crouches to meet Clark's gaze.
I got a responsibility
Clark's eyes dim.
to take a day off and spend it with my best guy.
Yes, sir.
Clark hugs his dad.
I love you bigger than the universe, Dad. Bigger.
That's almost as big as I love you.
End of flashback. Exterior Red River Park evening. Jonathan stares at the father chase his son. The father catches him and tickles him. Exterior Winnebago night. Clark finishes installing the battery. He slams the hood. Gestures to Linda inside the Winnebago to start the engine. She does. It starts with ease.
Awesome!
Interior Winnebago moments later. Clark enters.
Listen, if you want, I got space here for tonight. You don't have to waste your money at a hostel.
Oh, geez, that'd be swell, man.
But you're not allowed to call me that. Or miss.
Interior Millennium Goodwill Center morning. Clark and Linda enter. They approach the secretary.
Douglas Hyde?
We released him an hour ago.
Oh,
Exterior Millennium Goodwill Center Park. Clark and Linda spot Douglas sitting by a tree.
hey, Doug.
I know you?
You don't remember?
Douglas shakes his head.
What's that?
Medication.
For what?
I don't know. We all get it.
What do you mean?
You go into the center, they swipe your card, every room you enter, then they give you these.
Linda considers, then addresses Clark.
Take him back to the Winnebago. I gotta check something.
Check what?
A hunch.
We can join you.
Stay with him. No big deal.
You're saying it ain't a big deal, but your face is saying something else.
Don't worry.
Linda turns and approaches the center. Clark watches her as he helps Douglas rise. Interior Winnebago night. Clark stares outside, concerned.
Where's your friend?
I don't know. She should be back by now.
It's dark.
You feeling better?
Yeah, I chucked those pills. They do nothing for me except lose time. I want to say thanks. Ever since I came back from Iraq, things have been challenging. It's like someone else came back.
You don't have to explain.
I know. It's just, I'm usually not like this. I'm usually like the upbeat, happy dad.
You have kids?
Yeah,
Where are they?
away from me. It's better that way for now. Like I said, I lost the best part of me there. And until I figure out what's going on, I don't want to be around my kids. Hurt the ones I love most in life.
I understand.
I hope you don't, and that you never do.
I mean that I'm trying to figure out things too.
With your sister.
Oh, no, she isn't my sister. She's a friend.
We should probably go look for her.
Interior Millennium Goodwill Center later. Clark and Douglas approach the waiting room. They don't see Linda. Clark freezes for a moment, hears someone struggling. He uses his X-ray vision to see Linda struggling in a locked room. Clark approaches the locked room, grabs the handle of the locked door, snaps it off with ease. Douglas gives him a look. Locked room. Douglas and Clark approach Linda, restrained in a bed. She seems drugged. Linda narrows her gaze on Clark. She speaks with difficulty.
Clark, they're defrauding us.
Clark snaps off the restraints and goes to lift her over his shoulders.
Maybe I should do that.
Clark moves aside.
Sure.
Douglas carries Linda over his shoulder. He leads the way out of the locked room and into the hallway. Douglas and Clark round the corner. Security guards see him.
Hey, stop!
Douglas and Clark quickly turn and dash the other way. They exit the hallway and enter the stairwell. They rush down the stairs and out an exit door. Exterior, Millennium Goodwill Center alley. Douglas and Clark surge outside to unexpectedly face a group of security guards. They turn to go back inside, but another group of security guards block them.
Your friend was caught breaking into our computer.
So you should have her reported to the police. Why don't you call them now?
Get him!
Douglas puts Linda down. Clark attacks the security guards at a very restrained strength and speed, trying his best to emulate a human being's strength. This is the toughest part of his fight. Douglas suddenly loses himself. He leaps behind the last standing guard, and as he goes to break the man's neck, Clark speeds to him and holds his wrist firm.
No!
Douglas suddenly realizes he was about to kill a security guard. Tears fill his eyes. He releases the security guard, who falls to the ground. Tears slip down Douglas's face, and he slumps back and sits on the ground, lost. Clark places a comforting hand on his shoulder and kneels beside him. Douglas begins to shake with sobs.
You're gonna be okay.
Clark embraces him. Linda pulls out a USB from her socks, shows it to Clark. Interior, Winnebago night. Linda types on the computer, finishing her article. She submits files from the USB to her blog. She exits. Exterior, Winnebago moments later. Linda sits beside Douglas and Clark, who stare out at the bright lights of the city.
Making one visit to the doctor 10. Swiping a vet card like it was a credit card. Doctors charging vets 10 times more than they should. Charging for the same unneeded genetic test over and over again. Prescribing test drugs to everyone.
Clark stares at her in disbelief.
It's covered, but it's draining funds faster than a black hole. Then they're gonna say vet care don't work, cost too much, and end it because of the corruption of a few greedy businessmen pretending to be doctors.
It's good you figured it out.
Yeah, well, let's see what happens.
Linda sighs.
How do you rip off vets? They go through hell for us, then they come back and we put them through hell?
I don't know.
They sit for a moment, then
Ever been to Texas?
Clark shakes his head.
I've got a lead on a story big media ain't covering. Figured I'd do the covering for them. Could use a mechanic.
Clark smiles at her. She turns to Douglas.
And a bodyguard.
Exterior, Red River Hotel, night. Jonathan stands by the window staring at the stars. He pulls out a cell phone, calls Martha. Martha Clark appears on the cell phone screen.
Hey, it was him. But I've got nothing else. I know. Yes. Yes. He'll be fine. I know. I love you too.
Jonathan lies in bed, closes his eyes, remembers. Exterior, Kent Farm, lake, flashback. Jonathan and Clark grab a rope and swing off a tree into a cool, clear lake. A day off for both father and son. Pure bliss. Fade out. End of pilot.